When World War II began in 1939, Germany's armored forces shocked the world with fast, coordinated assaults. But behind the myth of unstoppable German armor was a small, lightly armed machine, the Panzer I. Originally designed in the early 1930s, the Panzer I was never meant to fight major wars. It was created as a training tank, allowing Germany to secretly rebuild its armored forces despite the restrictions of the Treaty of Versailles. Weighing around 5 tons, the Panzer I carried only 2 crew members, a driver and a commander who also operated the weapons. Its armament consisted of just 2 7.92 mm G13 machine guns. There was no cannon, no heavy armor. It was thinly protected with armor barely thick enough to stop rifle fire. Yet despite its limitations, the Panzer I became Germany's first operational tank of World War II. Early combat experience, the Panzer I first saw action in the Spanish Civil War, where German forces tested tactics and equipment. It quickly became clear that the tank was underpowered and underarmed, especially against Soviet-supplied Republican armor like the T-26. Still, it provided valuable battlefield experience. Blitzkrieg campaigns during the invasions of Poland in 1939 and France in 1940, hundreds of Panzer I tanks rolled across Europe. At the time, Germany lacked enough modern tanks, so even this training vehicle was pressed into combat service. Against poorly coordinated defenders, speed and tactics mattered more than armor thickness. However, once Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, the Panzer I was hopelessly outdated. Facing well-armed Soviet tanks, it was quickly withdrawn from frontline service. Legacy: the Panzer I was not a powerful tank, but it was the foundation upon which Germany built its armored doctrine. It trained crews, shaped tactics, and helped launch Blitzkrieg. Without the Panzer I, the legendary panzer divisions might never have formed. If the Panzer I was Germany's training tank, the Panzer II was its temporary solution. Designed in the mid-1930s, the Panzer II was intended as a stopgap vehicle until more advanced tanks like the Panzer III and IV became available. But war arrived sooner than expected. Unlike its predecessor, the Panzer II carried a 20 mm KYK-30 autocannon, giving it significantly more firepower than machine guns alone. It also had slightly thicker armor and a 3-man crew, improving combat effectiveness. Invasion of Poland and France. During the invasion of Poland in 1939, the Panzer II formed a large part of Germany's armored force. Its speed and mobility allowed it to perform reconnaissance and rapid flanking operations. In France in 1940, it continued to serve effectively against lightly armored Allied vehicles. However, the weaknesses of the Panzer II became clear when facing heavier tanks such as the British Matilda II, whose armor the 20 mm cannon struggled to penetrate. Eastern Front challenges. When Operation Barbarossa began in 1941, the Panzer II encountered Soviet T-34 and KV-1 tanks. Against these heavily armored opponents, the Panzer II was nearly useless in direct combat. As a result, it was gradually reassigned to reconnaissance roles and converted into specialized variants. Variants and conversions. The chassis of the Panzer II became the foundation for several important vehicles, including the Marder II tank destroyer and the Westby self-propelled artillery. Legacy: the Panzer II may not have been powerful, but it played a crucial role in the early years of the war and proved highly adaptable. The Panzer III was the first true backbone of Germany's armored divisions. Unlike earlier tanks, the Panzer III was designed specifically to fight other tanks. It featured a rotating turret with a high-velocity gun and a 5-man crew, a key advantage that allowed better battlefield coordination. Early models carried a 37 mm cannon, but after encountering stronger enemy armor, it was upgraded to a 50 mm gun. Battle of France. In 1940, the Panzer III proved highly effective. Its superior communication systems and coordinated tactics allowed German forces to outmaneuver Allied tanks. North Africa, under commanders like Erwin Rommel, the Panzer III performed well in the desert campaigns. Its reliability and mobility suited the harsh terrain. Operation Barbarossa. The invasion of the Soviet Union revealed serious problems. The new Soviet T-34 tanks had sloped armor, and a powerful 76 mm gun. Even upgraded Panzer III models struggled. By 1943, it was clear the Panzer III could no longer compete with modern Allied tanks. Production ended, and many chassis were converted into Sturmgeschütz III assault guns. Importance. Despite becoming obsolete, the Panzer III represented the height of Germany's early war tank design philosophy: balance, coordination, and crew efficiency. It was the true workhorse of early Blitzkrieg victories. If one tank truly carried Germany's armored forces from the beginning to the very end of World War II, it was the Panzer IV. Originally designed in the mid-1930s as an infantry support tank, the Panzer IV was not meant to fight enemy armor directly. That role was intended for the Panzer III. Instead, it carried a short-barreled 75 mm gun designed to fire high-explosive shells at bunkers and infantry positions. But war has a way of changing plans. Early campaigns, during the invasions of Poland and France, the Panzer IV performed exactly as intended, supporting advancing infantry and smashing defensive positions. Its short 75 mm gun was devastating against fortifications. However, during the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, German forces encountered the Soviet T-34 and KV-1. These tanks had thick, sloped armor that German guns struggled to penetrate. It became clear that the Panzer IV would need to evolve. The upgrade engineers replaced the short-barreled gun with a long-barreled 75 mm KKA-40 cannon. This dramatically increased its armor-piercing capability. With the new gun, the Panzer IV became Germany's primary battle tank. It could now engage enemy armor at longer ranges and with greater effectiveness. Versatility. Unlike many German heavy tanks, the Panzer IV was reliable and easier to produce. Over 8,500 units were built, more than any other German tank of the war. It served everywhere: North Africa, Eastern Front, Italy, Western Europe. It was also adapted into numerous variants, including tank destroyers and anti-aircraft platforms. Late war service. By 1944-45, the Panzer IV faced increasingly powerful Allied tanks like the Sherman Firefly and Soviet IS-2. Though outmatched in some engagements, it remained in service until the very end. Legacy. The Panzer IV wasn't the most famous or the heaviest tank, but it was the most consistent. It adapted, survived, and fought across every major front. If one tank represents Germany's armored war effort, it is the Panzer IV. When German forces encountered the Soviet T-34 in 1941, it caused shock within the Wehrmacht. Sloped armor, wide tracks, and a powerful 76 mm gun. It was superior in many ways. Germany's response was the Panther, officially designated Panzerkampfwagen V Panther. It was designed specifically to counter the T-34. Design philosophy. The Panther featured sloped frontal armor, a high-velocity 75 mm K42 L70 gun, wide tracks for better mobility, a powerful Maybach engine. Its gun was capable of penetrating most Allied tanks at long distances. Debut at Kursk. The Panther first saw major action at the Battle of Kursk in 1943, one of the largest tank battles in history. However, early Panthers suffered from serious mechanical issues. Many broke down before even reaching combat. But once mechanical reliability improved, the Panther proved deadly. Battlefield performance. On open terrain, the Panther excelled. Its gun could knock out enemy tanks from distances where they struggled to respond. On the Eastern Front, it became one of the most feared German tanks. Weaknesses. However, it was expensive and complex. Production was slower compared to Allied tanks like the Sherman. It was also mechanically demanding, requiring significant maintenance. Legacy. Many historians consider the Panther one of the best balanced tanks of World War II, combining firepower, protection, and mobility. It represented Germany's technological response to battlefield reality. Few tanks in history have achieved the legendary status of the Tiger I, officially designated Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger Osf. It entered service in 1942 and immediately changed the psychological landscape of the battlefield. The concept of heavy armor, unlike the more balanced Panther, the Tiger I focused on overwhelming power. It featured 100 mm of frontal armor, the powerful 88 mm Quake A36 gun, thick vertical steel plating, a weight of nearly 57 tons. Its 88 mm gun could destroy most Allied tanks at extreme ranges. First appearances. The Tiger I first appeared on the Eastern Front near Leningrad and later in North Africa. Under commanders such as Michael Wittmann, the Tiger gained a reputation for devastating battlefield performance. Fear Factor Allied crews were trained to avoid direct confrontation with Tigers. The sight of one could halt an advance. Its thick armor made it extremely difficult to destroy from the front. Limitations? But the Tiger I had major drawbacks: high fuel consumption, heavy weight causing bridge and transport problems. Slow production numbers. Only around 1,300 were built. Final battles. By 1944-45, even the Tiger I faced increasing opposition from improved Allied weapons and air superiority. Yet its legend survived long after the war. Legacy. The Tiger I became a symbol of German engineering power. Massive, intimidating, and technologically advanced. But it also symbolized the growing imbalance between quality and quantity that Germany struggled with in the later years of the war.